it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. So today I was getting ready to make another all-well box top, and I thought, why not take you along with me in this little journey here. So sew along with me the all-well box top. So I have sewn this pattern twice now. With one of my tops, I used a calico cotton fabric that I got from Joann, and the other one, which happens to be my personal favorite, I upcycled a thrifted skirt and turned it into a top. I will pop up some photos here and here just so that you can see how cool and versatile this top is. It has a simple silhouette and really can be paired with a lot of things. So I am excited to be making my third all-well box top. This time I decided to kind of put a spin on it and do something a little different that I have never done before. I am going to be making a patchwork version of this top. Essentially, it's going to have two fabrics. It's going to be split down the middle, and a fabric on one side, a fabric on the other side, and then the back side will be flipped. So it's kind of like a checkerboard pattern. Let me show you the fabric that I have because I'm super excited to use it. First, I have this nice plaid woven fabric that I got thrifted from my local creative reuse store. You might recognize this fabric from my previous video where I made the Pomona pants. I also love that this pattern, or this fabric, has a bunch of colors woven in, so you can really pair it with a bunch of different colors if you wanted to do this patchwork idea. I could have gone with navy or yellow, but I'm gonna go with this nice poppy lime green linen that I got from Joann. Here it is. It's pretty heavy. I got a lot of this fabric. Admittedly, I need to find some other things to make with it, but it's just so pretty. And then for the nice little touch of pizzazz that I was hoping to bring to this top, I was bored the other day and I decided to make up some bias binding using that plaid woven fabric. So my plan is to have an exposed bias bound neckline where the bias is facing the good side of the fabric so that it kind of pops out and you can see it on the neckline when I'm wearing the top. Also, I really wanted to give a shout out to the all-well pattern makers. Early on in my sewing journey, I purchased How to Sew Clothes by the All-Well Workshop, and I really can't say enough how much it's taught me about sewing, about how to finish garments, different little details and accents you can do to give your makes a more tailored and unique feel. And then especially this box top, truly it is what catapulted me into making more garments for myself. When I purchased this book and made the all-well box top, it just lit a fire under me. I felt the excitement and really, more than anything, the confidence that I needed to try to sew more complicated patterns. The all-well box top is something that I sewed with only a couple months of sewing knowledge. So if you're a beginner like me and you've even sewn for fewer months than I have, the all-well box top is truly easy. You can do it, and it will be something that you want to keep wearing time and time again. I am really excited to start sewing this, so how about we just go ahead and get into it, and I will see you on the cutting board.
This pattern is made to be cut on the fold, but since I'm doing this split fabric style, I'm cutting the pattern pieces on one layer of fabric. I added a 1/4 inch at the center seam, where the fold would normally be, to account for seam allowance. I flipped the pattern piece right side down to cut out the front pattern piece of the green fabric, making sure to leave the 1/4 inch seam allowance at the center seam. Here's a closer look at how I cut out the pattern pieces. This is the back pattern piece, and there is its accompanying green fabric, cut out by placing the back pattern piece right side down. Now I will serge the center seams of all 4 pieces. Match the front pieces right sides together and pin. Repeat this process for the back pieces as well, and sew them in place. Happens to the best of us. At this point, I like to double check that I've configured the fabric the way that I want it before I sew the back and front pieces together. Place your front and back shirt pieces right sides together and pin the shoulder seams. I decided to use the bias binding I made to finish the shoulder seams. I'm attaching the binding and folding it toward the back side of the top. Make sure to press really well, as this will make sewing the binding much easier and give you a cleaner finish. Stitch close to the edge of the bias binding to seal the seam. Pin from the armpit all the way down if doing a standard hem. I decided at the last minute that I wanted to do a split hem, so I left 3 inches unsewn at the hem as I was sewing up my side seams. This is totally optional. Sew this little section near the armpit with a gentle curve. I've been keeping all of my loose threads in this jar, and can you believe that this is all the threads that I've accumulated over 11 months? It's like a little thread mosaic. Off camera, I finished the side seams by binding them. Same process as the shoulder seams. Before finishing the side seams though, I snipped the split hem into the seam allowance so it could be finished separately. I pressed the split hem 1/4 inch. I'm going to do a double fold by folding the hem into the crease, then folding it again to encase the raw edges. Sew up from the bottom of the hem as close to the edge of the hem as possible. When you get to the top of the triangle, put your needle down, lift your presser foot, and pivot 90 degrees. Put the presser foot back down and sew a straight line. Then pivot again to sew all the way back down the hem. Okay, I will admit that finishing the armholes can be a little fiddly. The linen didn't give me as much trouble as the woven plaid fabric did, but I just stayed patient and kept pressing until all the raw edges were encased. Start sewing at the armpit, stitching as close to the edge as possible. I have my needle in the left position. I'm leaving a couple inches unstitched to start the bias binding. I'll do the same when I come up to the end of the binding. I'm attaching the right side of the bias binding to the wrong side of the neckline. It helps to start at the back of the top, close to the shoulder seams, because it's less obvious and will help the neckline look more seamless when it's done. I'm not pinning the binding to the neckline because I find it's actually easier to just move the fabric in place as I sew. I'm sewing right in the crease of the bias binding. When you get to the end of the binding, sew as close as you can to the edge and make sure to backstitch. You'll be left with these two weird flaps. Trust the process. We're going to sew the ends of the binding together, trying to get as close to the neckline stitches as possible. Now you'll fold the binding over to the right side of the fabric, making sure to avoid revealing the fabric from the wrong side of the top. I found that it was easier to pin and then press to get a clean base for sewing. And you're left with a lovely neckline, finishing it off with a custom label. On to the hem. You'll sew 2 separate hems if you opted to do a split hem like me. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed this sew along with me. Next time, I am going to take a stab at sewing 100% of my Christmas gifts for the first time. In case you didn't know, I have only been sewing for I've only been sewing for 11 months now, going on a year. I started this January as a New Year's resolution. So if you're a new sewer like me, follow along with me on this journey as I try to sew my own wardrobe.